Every voice is different and every voice is needed. This is our voice. By connecting, we discover the best from and of each other. Inspire, challenge, transform, connecting and learning together. I ask the questions that you are thinking but not asking. This is Authentically Me. I am Nirvana Lange. Joining me are experts in their field, on and off planet. This is an incredible space of consciousness, awakening, empowerment, unity, and love. We are here to share, co-create, empower, appreciate, unify, and evolve for the collective shift in humanity at this time. Hello and good morning to Authentically Me, your business on video marketing tool. I provide a professional interview, conversational video content about you, your journey, and what you have to offer, with graphics, logo, and or other images incorporated on the final edit, along with sound clips for intro and outro jingles. I am Nirvana Lange, and today I will be chatting to Robin Beck from Kima Global Publishers. Good morning, Robin. How are you doing?
Absolutely lovely. It's a beautiful day here. So what could be better?
Absolutely. Autumn is in Cape Town, and it is such beautiful days that we are having. And I'm so excited to do this interview, to have this platform where we could hear who is Robin Beck and your journey. I mean, I think is it over 30 years that you've been in publishing? How long have you been in publishing, Robin?
I started in 1992,
Okay.
and Nadine joined me in 2002.
So,
So
so
that's a long time now.
yes, it is. It definitely is. But before we're gonna go on when you started, I want to know more about you and what brought you to publishing. What were those things that sort of you journeyed through, and then decided to do publishing. So give us a little bit of a backstory of Robin Beck and the road to publishing.
Look, in 1976, I remember so clearly, I was going through a really serious time, challenges, going through a divorce, suicidal, all of those type of things that people go through. And so I think that fortunately I didn't, because my kids were around. I didn't want to let them down. So I decided I'd got to make a change. So I started then with transcendental meditation and other paths, and went from there into Western mysteries and Kabbalah and those sorts of things for quite some years.
Mm.
Now, in my professional life, I had like a dual life, double living actually, because there was that side of it. Then also in my working life, I was involved in commercial print. Later, in the later years of commercial print, I was involved in book production, a book production house for a number of other publishers, and I had a partnership with three, sometimes four other people. So those two lives were in parallel until such time as you know the 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 efforts. The rhinoceros came around and kicked me in the bum, so to speak, and said, "You've got to get out of this, talk your talk, and do it." So
Mm.
at that time, I decided around about 2 weeks before, I said, because I then got a lot of contacts in life through all of these interesting people. I've been on conferences and those sort of things. So they said, well, why don't you do publishing? I've got a book for you. So I said, yes, why not? Let's do it. So I started then with a wonderful guy who's still around, and we're still close friends, a man called Simon Peter Fuller, who visited Cape Town here and did activations here on the mountainside. And
Oh,
some of the older people will remember those sort of things. We had Gordon Oliver working with us, and
that's right.
so that was the first. And he was like 20 years ahead of his time. His work is still relevant. His book is still in print, and we're very proud of the work we did for him.
Right. So with you starting then in 1992, roundabout there, publishing and deciding to go into publishing, you must have been one of the way showers or the way shower for publishing alternative, holistic, stuff that a lot of people kind of would frown upon here in South Africa. Am I correct by assuming that?
Yes, you are. Look, the thing is, that in publishing there are some very big names, and I realize that we can't possibly compete against them. I also got to be authentic, to use your words to say, that we've got to be authentic, to walk our talk and to reveal our visions and to support. The idea was to support people, because none of those great people who we published ever since, have had those sort of facilities, and it's allowed them, thank God, to be
Mm.
able to get out into the world and to expose their world, expose their work. And it's actually wonderful to work with mission-driven people, that
Absolutely.
because they are the ones that really make the difference.
Mm.
Many of them are pioneers. They are plowing the new furrows in the world. And
Mm.
from those ideas have started, and many of them have become very accepted now, when those ideas have become very accepted in the world.
Yeah.
That's rewarding to have that,
Absolutely, absolutely. In 1992, I certainly had no idea what I know now, and would have been very strange to see some of those titles and some of those books, because I just wasn't exposed to that. So it's great that you brought that to South Africa and to start awakening, because I mean there was Louise Hay Publishing and all of those big people all over the world that was doing this stuff, but yet it wasn't really quite hitting our shores, and if it was, we had to pay through our necks to be able to
Mhm.
get that information. Now I'd like to get to why Kima Global? What's the Kima? What does Kima stand for? And your logo's also got the triangles in it. Give me a little bit more background about the name and the logo and the significance in that.
The word Kima is actually a transliteration for the Hebrew word for Orion's bells. And Orion's bells were supposed to be unloosened at the end of time, and that's actually what we're seeing now.
Exactly.
It's exactly right. The logo itself was based on the number nine, really through the Council of Nine, which now people like Magenta Pixie are speaking to. So that was the basis of it, and it's quite a strong image. Those the three triangles because we in the end are body, mind, and spirit, and so those three elements get multiplied out into the world.
Yep,
You know,
exactly. And the blue and the yellow, any significance to the logo's colors that you've
just like the colors, actually. Just like the colors.
just
That's it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's really powerful. Right now, I want to go into Kima Global and some of the authors that you've been publishing. I know that you started off, or some of the thing, Rising Out of Chaos, which is one of the ones you published in 1992. Of course, Kima Global also was hugely the influence of you attracting your beautiful partner Nadine into your life, whose book you published, A Language of Light, and then joined you not only in business but also in partnership and as a as a wife, so to speak, if I can use that. And so so Kima Global has really brought some incredible people into your life. Tell me a little bit about those books, the early books, and authors that you started to publish, and a little bit about their titles and what their stories were.
Look, one of the earliest ones, we after Rising Out of Chaos, we got approached by a man called Jasper Swain, who was the author of a book called Mike. Now, Mike got it on the Death of My Son, was also called that. And that book got a big start in life because they got supported by or exposure through the Sunday Times for weeks on end, like that. But then the publisher, whoever it was, decided not to do it, and he was desperate. He get on. We had so many people asking about this book, and can we now do it? So I said, oh yes, please, let's do it. So we took it on, and we had to rename it because our advertising promotional people said you can't talk about death in a title. You simply can't. So we called it Heaven's Gift, and it just went on for years, reprinting and reprinting and reprinting. Everyone wanted, anyone who had lost or or was had people that were about to they lose through transition, wanted to know about it. I mean, I read it to my mother, who in her last years, and she said, "Oh, I can't wait for the next chapter to find out what's going to happen to me and what's going to happen to me when I go to the other side."
Mm.
So that was a huge help to a lot of people. That was one of them. But there were other one of the other early people was a wonderful guy called David Ash, who is a
That's right.
British quantum physicist and spiritual leader,
Mm.
really, who speaks in a wonderful way about how to simplify quantum physics so that the likes of us can understand it. He talks about things in terms of, tadpoles swimming in ponds and balls of wool and, those sorts of things that we all relate to.
Mm.
And he's still around, and his latest book, which is really taken off now, a beautiful cover, it's called Awaken.
Yeah.
That that is now around the world, and he's getting comments and participation from people everywhere, from Canada to America to Australia, all over.
Mm.
Because he did a lot of traveling at that time too. He was here in South Africa several times, and we drove him around, and we had talks everywhere, and that was really quite exciting times when we could travel still, like that.
Exactly. Exactly.
People,
Before the unlawful incarceration started happening. So going back to your beautiful partner Nadine, so you published her book, and then after that you've published quite a few books of hers, right? The Language of Light, and some of the other titles that you've that she has written within that series.
there was a whole fiction series, of hers,
Mm.
which is a bit more difficult, because fiction is such a difficult seller these days.
Yes.
Because people are not reading those lengths of fiction. People nowadays have very short attention span, so they want to quick reduce to the Twitter feeds and that sort of stuff.
That's right.
It's not so easy, putting that out. But once we've had good response from people,
Mm.
and when the people that do read it enjoy it immensely. So
Yeah,
that's also, and she personally has been such a great support
of
over
course.
the years. Can't thank her enough.
So you also had Healthy Medicine.
He's a wonderful guy called Bernard Brom.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
Bernard Brom has been such a force to be reckoned with over the years, a huge reputation. He started that magazine, the Natural Health magazine,
That's right.
and has been all sorts of international panels, and is very widely thought of around the world.
Mhm.
He's now retired. He does a few consultations, just one for each person. He doesn't do ongoing consultations. I think
Mhm.
he's had
Yes,
enough, But
absolutely.
that fits, and he's a huge contributor. Very honoured to do his work, and people respond to it. They look into his work, and they said it's to offer some a lot of value to
Yeah.
people's lives.
And Bernard Brom had, I remember in the early 2000s, probably around 2005, I think, he had a panel of indigo children. And my son Casey, at that point, who was bending spoons and forks and big tablespoons, he was literally bending it. He was on one of the panels when he had the indigo children in those days, and so that was quite a powerful message of what the children can do these days, and how he was exposing, alternative ways that we could use our energies. He's a remarkable man.
Yeah, he is. I didn't know he did that with the indigo children, but bravo for him.
Yes, and so of course one of my favorite authors or books, definitely one that stood out for me, what I used with my children, were Georgina and Her Guardian Angels, and that was Magdal. Well, Magdal, what was her surname?
Shackleton.
Shackleton.
Magdal, we lost her, of course, a few years later, in
That's right. Yeah,
about
very soon.
2008 or something like that. This is
Yeah.
not a person, but what a brilliant mind.
Also,
You know?
yeah. What a
Also,
wonderful book. I would love to get my hands on another copy. I somehow it given my book to someone to read to their child or something, and I never got it back. And I know that those are not in print anymore. So hopefully that, one day I can have another one on my bookshelf.
Well,
So
I don't know, because we can't really, we haven't got the files anymore, and those were printed. Litho runs, we had a litho print run, which we're not doing anymore, and so that's sort of gone now, unfortunately. So we've got one copy here remaining in our
in,
archive files, but
yeah.
not much more than that.
Yeah. So Robin, so that's obviously printing was very much holding the book in your hand, as you say, litho printing. It's definitely moved now much more into, the cyber world, and people is sitting with their Kindles and buying a book online, which they could literally read in their palm of their hands. So publishing has changed a lot for you over the years. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, overseas particularly, they are doing a book at a time printing, which has made a huge difference. Because back in the day, we shipped books all over the world. We had nightmare experiences of books being sort of held up in Amsterdam or Rotterdam, and if lost at the port of Chicago and those sort of things. But nowadays, with book at a time, we don't have to have the inventory, but we have to have the stock, the warehousing, the managers, all those sort of things. That somebody orders a book, in 2 days the book's printed, and in another 2 days it's delivered to them. So all of those things are a huge benefit. It means also, because we print in various places through the world. We print, in America, we print in the UK, we print in Australia, we print here, and also lately in India, which is wonderful to know. So those things, it means they get quite quick delivery, even if they, for instance, America serves Canada, and Britain serves Ireland and all of Europe, and Australia does New Zealand as well too. Not that we had much success in Australia, but the other countries are wonderful, and because of that facility, we have authors from around the world. We have Americans, we have British authors, and we have one Australian now. So
nice.
Those have been a blessing to everybody. So, and of course, the whole thing is that we also do ebooks for every book that goes out. We do ebooks, and those go onto all the platforms everywhere, all the major ones, the Kobos and the
Amazons.
Amazon, of course, and such a number of others, Barnes and Noble, everybody,
Fantastic.
So that's the trick these days is exposure, getting as wide exposure as possible. But also the other thing is that the authors themselves make a difference, because they are the ones that drive the book, essentially. Because they are the ones who talk about it. They are the expert. I'm not the expert. I know something about all of them, but they are the ones that are mission driven to get their word out. And if they do things like videos and talks and workshops, people used to do workshops. I don't know if they probably can't anymore, but they do those things, and those back of the room sales have led to other things. Yeah. And for them, we are a service of we do what they can't do. Get them into the bookshops, which to do all their their whole background work of getting a book out into print. And there are so many things, little aspects that go out, including getting it onto the right databases so that bookshops can find it, and all those sort of little tricks that go out.
And so, and then just got two more questions before we get into your contact details. So, of course, Nadine, your author, your partner, business partner, and also does a lot of design work for the cover. So that's also something that the authors, most authors are just into the writing, but they need that writing to be put into an image on the cover. So Nadine helps a lot with that.
Yeah, what we try to do what we can in-house. There was a time when we sort of sent stuff out to India when we were very busy, but we're not quite so busy anymore. So I do the typesetting, and Nadine does the covers, and with the covers comes a certain amount of promotional materials. We do Facebook banners, and we do website banners, and we do she does our own. And with cover designs, we usually do two. She usually does two or three different designs and ask people, the authors, to choose. Because it just remains very important for the authors to be pleased with their book. Because we've experienced that for some reason, and some of them have suddenly changed their minds after 6 months. We don't like that cover anymore. My friend said it's awful. My friend, has been, he's a sub-18 show or something like that. She said it's awful. So now you must change it. And if they don't have the energy behind it, the energy behind the book just disappears and it fritters away and it disappears into dust, sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So it's important, to have the right covers, and she's been very good at that and wonderful.
Now, my last question before we get into your contact details is, who are you working on right now? Who's those authors that we will be seeing coming out from Kima Global in the very near future?
Look, the situation has changed. Now we've got people working on new projects now. Their older authors are coming back to us a lot of the time. So we are supposed to be now working on one which is a natural foraging book. I can't really say who the author is, but she's very well experienced in plant alchemy, and I think you know who I mean. I can't say who it is now, but she's an expert in medicinal plants and edible plants that you find in the forest, those sort of things, and we feel there's a big interest for that somehow in that going forward. And she's really such an expert. The other things, the strange things we've been doing lately, have been in foreign language editions. We've had suddenly, we've had tried always before, in the years before, when we went to Frankfurt, the book fair every year, that was always about selling foreign rights to publishers, which in the initial years we were very successful. We had over 17 deals to foreign rights and in the books that we published. However, people are not seem to be buying that anymore. There's too much risk. They have too much payment for translators, and there's too much money involved in doing so. They don't want to take the risk. But still, the authors themselves have got networks in these countries, in Germany, for instance, and in Italy now. So we've done foreign language editions for people, which we're able to deliver, but we're not so exposed in the bookshop. But the networks of people, the authors and translators, are usually there to help get the word out. So that's quite satisfying in a way, to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And especially now that you have the ability to print one book at a time, so you don't have to print like 50 of something in a language. You can print that particular book, one edition. Yeah. Okay, Robin, it's been so amazing. I know I could, literally talk to you for the next 2 hours. And if there's anything else that you would like to say in closing, in wrap up, before we get into your contact details, that you would like to just share with people that would be using you in the future, or just anything that you feel from your heart that you want to share.
Look, we are still here, around us. We're still here, although around us is not with us anymore, unfortunately. But we're still here, and we do offer the service to people. And we're very grateful. We feel that it's not so much, financially it's been, we do the work and we do the service, and the money comes. That's how it is. We're not that commercially driven, but yes, there are costs involved, and we've got a little scheme these days, especially for first-time authors, whereby they make a small contribution. We subsidize the costs of setting it all up, and they get a deal whereby they get a 40% discount off anything that they themselves buy for their network. So usually their investment gets recovered if they sell less than 100 books, which is not difficult to do, especially if you've got the right kind of network. So and after that's done, it's an income stream for them, which we think is mostly time. Most of us need more than one income stream just to survive these days.
Yeah.
So that was quite a good thing to do, and it's, I think, much appreciated. That's, I think, all that we want to add to that.
I think that's really amazing that you do subsidize and support, and it's not so sort of commercially driven, although there is yet, as you say, those costs that needs to be covered, but you work hand in hand with the authors, and each one is an individual package or an individual conversation. It's not just, this is what we do. And, so it's very much a relationship, an individual way that you work with your authors, which is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you for that. That's what we love. Thanks so much.
And so, Robin, how can people get hold of you? If you can give us for instance, your website detail, if you've got any social media pages, email address, anything that you feel, and we will put that on the links in the chat box below when we add it to the YouTube channel, and then people can just click on that. But if you could share that with us now, please.
Look, our website is kimabooks.com. The important thing was the website, though, for people, and people don't seem to get it, although we put in large letters right in front, please choose your country. But they just don't sometimes. But, if you're in America, you choose the American flag and so forth, the UK, British, and so forth, South Africa, and so forth. So those things, that's kimabooks.com. From there, they get into the local countries. We did that because we distribute also for other people, and so we don't have the rights always for all the titles worldwide. That's one thing. The email address is Kima, Kima, @global.co.za. That's the best one to use because that's the one I use all the time. Other than that, we are, of course, on all of the social media platforms. That mostly on Facebook, while we can still get away with Facebook. But people will find us. They'll find us. They're looking up under that name, and we'll find us. Or my name.
Kima Global. What is the Facebook page name?
I think it's just Kima Global Publishers.
Okay, fantastic. Robin, I think that is everything. We will definitely add all of that information and links in the chat box below when we upload this to YouTube channel. And, we look forward to anything that you would like to do in the future and share with us with what you are busy with Kima Global. Thank you so much for your time today. I really love chatting to you.
Likewise, Tamara. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.